In this video today, Rand Paul confirms that he will not support raising the debt ceiling regardless of what Doge will do with the cuts and regardless of what happens at Fort Knox and the gold. Now, I'm going to be conducting an interview as a reaction to all of this, but let's first hear what Rand Paul had to say.
All right, so this morning to talk about going for the gold, Elon Musk and Doge setting their sights on the country's largest gold reserve, Fort Knox in Kentucky, as its own senator reveals that $425 billion of a gold supply doesn't even get a yearly review. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul joins us now. So, Senator, I didn't know it was that much money there, and I was even more surprised that there's been no review.
Well, you know, I've been trying to go down and see the gold, make sure it's all there for about 10 years. During the first Trump administration, I got permission. You have to get permission all the way up to the Secretary of Treasury. And then the Secretary of Treasury said, well, I want to go down there too. And then he said, I want to go down there when the eclipse is coming through Kentucky too, so I can see the eclipse and the gold at the same time. But they came when I wasn't there. So I tried for 10 years. I set up the appointment. And then because they wanted to see the eclipse, they changed the appointment. I didn't get to go down. But the Secretary of Treasury and the senior senator from Kentucky did go down and attest that they believe they saw the gold down there.
Okay, so I have Paul Stone here with me, the owner of Colonial Metals Group. And I want to get your reaction because Rand Paul said that gold still has value, of course. But more importantly, what I noticed on the screen there, that there's only $425 billion worth of physical gold. And what I want to know is like, so that proves the theory, or really the fact, that all this money is really just made up. And maybe it makes sense for Doge to really audit and find where we can cut out that wasteful spending, because the government, they just keep printing money. What do you say?
Well, yeah, a couple of great points there. One, Rand Paul's final parting comment about how gold still implies that there's something backing the dollar is completely inaccurate. I don't know why one would think that. So the best way to look at it is like when he said gold backs the dollar. All gold really ever was, when it was no longer the money we carried around in our satchels and our purses, was what limited the money. It limited money creation. So when you say, when you see there's only $425 billion in gold in Fort Knox, obviously there's a lot more than that swimming around the world. There's a lot more than $425 billion swirling around our economy, or even a state. I mean, I'm sure the GDP of Rhode Island is probably about the size of $400 billion a year. Maybe, you know, somewhere in that neighborhood. So when you think, there's a lot more money than there should be, that means the government's been using printed money to solve its problems or throw at its problems, which creates even more problems. And then you get to Doge. So now the only reason society would think, let's get some program that, you know, runs a colonoscopy throughout the government and finds all of the BS in our financial world, it's because there's a calamity in society, in the minds of the people, that their spidey senses are going off hardcore, thinking there's been a lot going wrong and a lot of falsehoods in our financial world for a long, long time. And we feel, you know, inside our guts that it's reaching a crescendo,
right,
where things burst and die. And so let's get a handle on this before we actually really truly go off a permanent cliff, a permanent financial cliff of ruin, because our currency's dead.
So I guess while we're on the topic of like money and what the government is doing with it, here is Rand Paul. He's talking about whether or not he will support a funding bill that will increase the debt. Now, we all know that that's not what he's about. He does not want to increase the debt whatsoever. So, but let's just hear what he has to say first.
Since we're talking about money, the GOP budget resolution that is apparently in jeopardy over concerns from the moderates as well as Democrats about the budget. Talk about it. I mean, you are your father's son. And so I know you've had these objections to it. What are they now?
Well, this year, the deficit's going to be $2.2 trillion. In March, both parties will come back and probably spend $300 billion more in California for wildfires, and it will be borrowed, not paid for. We just spent another $100 billion in North Carolina. It never seems to end, and we don't borrow it. So what I would say is for border If you want money for the border, take it from somewhere else in the budget, but let's don't have a new spending bill. So this budget is setting up a new spending bill, and ultimately this year there'll be a $2.2 trillion, and people will be scratching their head saying, what about all the cuts? What about all the things? The Doge committee, Elon Musk has found billions of dollars. The way you save money, and it has to be done, is they send it back to Congress in something called a rescission package, and then we vote on it with a simple majority. So Republicans alone can cut the spending that Doge is finding, but they're doing a great job, and they're going through it with rapidity, but it's got to come back to Congress. If I started seeing that, I might be more inclined to go along with them.
I just, for the life of me, now I'm not going to forget that number, 425 billion of gold. So, I mean, but we have $36 trillion of debt, right? And you got people crying about, this entire audit, and what Elon Musk is doing is breaking the law, and he's got access to our data, all this other stuff. Do you find that if the government was to cut its wasteful spending down, how much do you think that will impact the dollar?
I'm sorry to say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to say, because you're talking maybe, so, let's say the government needed Biden's last budget. Trump will be submitting his here before September. So his first budget will get passed and started in October. The $7 trillion that the Biden government needed to blow through in 1 year. I mean, just hear me say these things. Like, hear these words in your head. Our governmental machine blows through $7 trillion in a year. I mean, a trillion seconds is 31,000 years.
Right.
So when you say, okay, there's two ways of understanding how important this is. Let's say they could save 700 billion bucks, 10%. If they could knock 10% out, that's a decent number.
Yeah.
So, okay, now the government doesn't have to print 700 billion bucks to pay for programs. So now your economy, now hear this. So let's say Mama Bird flies back to the nest, and she's bringing $7 trillion a year. So all those little baby birds in the nest need all of that nourishment to live. And suddenly she's coming back 10% light. And she's got 6.3 trillion to feed her babies with. You understand, the economy needs every dollar it's been getting, or it struggles, things go bankrupt, things die, things break, things stop working, and it's likely, because we're so fragile, a domino effect. So as soon as that heroin addict doesn't get all the heroin it needs, it goes into shock and Tourette's syndrome, and freaks out, has heart palpitations, and might die. It's that bad. Yeah. So yes, long ago we needed to stop the government from printing money to throw money at its problems, and get with real problem solvers out here on Main Street who know how to solve problems, because the government surely knows how to create them.
Right. Right. It's like they create them in an effort to make more money. But what ends up happening,
the scary part is they don't even see that they're doing that.
Exactly.
Because obviously none of those government workers run red lights. So when they get in their cars to go home, they aren't just running red lights. Right. They know when they see a light turning yellow, red, they should be hitting the brakes, slowing down. The odds if they go through the red light is a lot of pain and misery.
Yeah. That's why
they don't see the money printing as a problem.
Yeah, that's why Elon Musk said in the Oval Office, he was like, the problem is at the Treasury Department, where every single transaction is I guess, occurring. He says that their mindset is just approve everything. It's not often that they will say, oh, no, we should not approve that, or no, that should be canceled, or that should be reversed. They just let it go out the door.
When you understand that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization, so then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously. But if people don't receive money, they do complain. And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest. So then when you understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything they approve all the payments at Treasury. Because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints. But now we're saying that, no, actually, we are going to complain. If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely on things that matter to the people. I mean, these things, it's just common sense. It's not it's not draconian or radical. I think it's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it.
And I think that speaks to your your point about
you got it, DeVory. You're absolutely right. And so you're seeing this in the news when you're seeing Maxine Waters and all these folks protesting these cuts. Where did the money connect to? Right. I've been saying this for so long to every audience I've been able and had the benefit and the pleasure and the grace to be able to ever take up time in their minds by saying something hopefully useful is stop looking at the dollar as money. Look at it as energy.
Yeah.
So where does energy flow? Doesn't energy connect back from a power plant to a human being somehow? So if our financial energy connects to humans, our stupid governments have been setting for decades, have been setting up dependencies on that financial energy. And now Trump and Elon Musk, rightly so, saying discipline needs to come back inside the Beltway, reality and discipline, which is what the government's been lacking for all these years. This is why you don't see discipline anymore in society. You don't see anyone willing to take responsibility for things or fall on their own sword.
Right. You know, two things that really stand out to me. Number one is the word accountability, right? It just seems like no one is ever held accountable in the government, which is a problem because if you're, I guess, betting your future financially on what the government is going to do, you're probably going to be in trouble unless, I guess, you're best friends with Nancy Pelosi, right? But secondly, I think more important is where you're putting your money at. And the reason why I say this is because think of Elon Musk, right? There's a lot of people who clearly invested into Tesla, right? And I always say this, diversification, et cetera. But I also say long-term strategy. But just in the short term, you're seeing how much of an impact the government can have on, let's say, a company's stock. So there are people protesting outside of Tesla charging stations and Tesla companies, and his stock is down, you know. Now, it's not the lowest it's ever been. I mean, if you go back 10 years ago, it's higher, right? My point that I want to make and I want to get your reaction to is, what do you think about how easy it is that the government's able to, whether it's positively or negatively, impact these different stocks as it pertains to where people are parking their money, of course, and why they should consider or be smarter about where they're actually putting their money?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, if you break it down, you say, okay, would I hire anyone out of Washington to be my personal financial advisor? Or would I rather have Warren Buffett?
Yeah, of course.
So you'd probably say, no, I wouldn't pick anyone out of the government to be my financial advisor. By the way, I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not a trained economist, but I take a farmer's approach to try and make complicated things simple. And then hopefully I can share that with folks and they'll find helpful and start asking their own questions, right? So if I wouldn't have anyone out of the government become my financial advisor, but I recognize that they are the main shot caller in how finances go because they get to decide things with the freaking currency that my investments would be based in. Mm-hmm. And so if I can't trust Washington, I can't trust their management of the money, then I can't trust what they're willing to attack and promote because I can't get with what their motivations are. I can't even get if they're educated motivations. I certainly can see that they're not tried and true, proven ways of managing greatness. See, you know, the people in America made America great. Right. The reason Trump's slogan exists is because the government's been ruining what America built.
Yeah. So, Paul, obviously there's just so much uncertainty out there, especially when it comes to the government and what they're doing with the dollar. And I'm a firm believer, results tell the story. You said it. The dollar's only worth 3 cents. If that doesn't tell you that they don't know what they're doing, then I'm not too sure what will, right? So I think it's very important for people who are watching right now, myself and everyone out there, we need to have a better understanding of where to park our money as pertains to what we want to do in the future, whether that is our retirement or our investment strategy, et cetera. Can you at least provide some insight or some steps that people can take so they can go in the right direction?
Yeah, again, I think this has helped most people. I've been a lot over the last couple decades that I've been mentioning that there's 4 locations for your money. When you say there's so much uncertainty in the world, there is, but where's the certainty? Because we can't We can't, if we're standing at a train station, right, and there's trains going in every direction, if we don't understand what their destinations are, we can't choose a train. Like I don't want to go to Siberia, and I don't want to go, to where it's a hot, crazy desert. I want to pick something that is pleasing to, what I find pleasing, right? An environment, living conditions, et cetera. So we can't pick a direction if we can't find any certainty. And the certainty I've tried to help people throw a different lens on all of this is you don't have to consider yourself or earn your way up to being Warren Buffett skilled, individual investor, right? Because we don't necessarily have to think about things as investing. We can think of the location of our money, especially for retirees, and we're looking at this, Doge furiously trying to find where, and the government's fighting every cut, and there's all these insane politicians screaming like little babies, "You can't take my toys away," and it's just lunacy. You can see how connected, how powerful money is. I think it's the most emotion generating force in humanity next to love. Anything around those two things, love and money, is going to generate some emotions, obviously dependencies. So if you can't break them and save the system, you got to say to yourself, the individual, well, where could my money be? Like if we're under attack, we circle the wagons, we take that hill, we find, we spend some time out in the cave, we hide somewhere where we're safe, where we can't be found until we can come up with a plan on how to go back about our lives. The 4 locations for your money is cash in a safe at home, just physical $100 bills in a safe in your house, in the real estate world, in the financial world, and in the vault. Cash, physical cash, real estate, financial world, and in the vault. If you think about the 4 food groups too, maybe investing, it's equities, it's debt, bonds and stuff, it's real estate and bullion. So it's stocks, bonds, real estate, and bullion. Well, when I look at the first 3 there, I need printed money to prop those values up. I need printed money to keep the liquidity in place for me to even exit from one of those investments, those locations. But the cash one and safe, Washington's burning that cash from thousands of miles away, even though the cash is sitting in a safe in your home. As Washington prints, that cash is worthless. It would take $33 today to buy something in the 40s or the 50s that cost $1. That's inflation. Wow. Assets go up, eggs go up, gas goes up, but payroll doesn't. That's where the hell is. That's where the government's just evil and continuing to perpetrate this hell on its people. So when you look at what precious metals is, it's a temporary hold. It might be a 5 to 7 year hold. You're holding it until you wake up super excited one day because the coast is clear and everything that went into ashes is starting to regrow itself. And you're saying, hey, Martha, I think it's time to let that solution of gold and silver go and get back to what, makes America great, which is growth and forward thinking and inventions and the consolidation of things that didn't used to work or don't work so well anymore back into things that work great tomorrow. And you're investing back in the American dream. Gold and silver is not the American dream. It's just when it was in place, it preserved that everyone had a shot at it because the government couldn't ruin it for you.
Right. Yeah, so that bolt is what really stands out to me because it's something that the government doesn't really have their hands in.
Right.
And it's not based on actual cash, like you were saying, which they are spending out of control, of course. So if people want to learn more from you, your expertise, what should they do?
There's lots of precious metals firms out there. I'm very proud to say, that I make a point of it. I've said it before on other shows that we don't hire jerks, and we just hire people that understand. We're probably talking to someone old enough that actually built the country, that did their little part, their very special individual part to actually build America if you're 70, 80, 90 years old. Yeah. So we have deep respect for not only all the craziness you've gone through, waking up every morning in a country you don't recognize, you don't understand how it would ever, why do humans here in this country need an executive order to keep men out of women's sports? Just look past the issue and think, how the hell did that ever become okay?
Right.
Where's the erosion from? Again, it's from if the government sets the example that it doesn't ever have to take responsibility or accountability for its actions, then erosion isn't just in the financial side of things, it's in the humanistic side of things.
Right.
And so we have deep empathy for anyone who's struggling with the America they live in today, and making your money great again, to, be cute with it, is to return not only what Trump's trying to do in Doge is return America to its fundamentals. You can do that individually. Don't be waiting for someone to do it for you. Right? You've got to that's what made America in the first place. People hopped on a ship and came across the Atlantic and made America happen here. They didn't just wait for people to go set it up and then come. Obviously, there were the pioneers, the colonists, Colonial Metals Group. That's what we are trying to bring awareness back to you, that if you move funds to precious metals, you'll find at Colonial Metals Group some helping hands to help you understand, well, what you don't yet feel comfortable about. And it's you get to choose from two discomforts: the one of things just blowing up one day, or the one that is temporary, which is making a change in things and moving some, or a portion of your savings to hard currency. Whether it's your IRA, your 401k, cash. And don't worry about the amount you're thinking of starting with, because you might think in your head you might want to move it all. No one starts there. So just it's okay to start small. You got to start wherever your comfort level is. And that's what we focus on. It isn't about us. It's about you. We do great. We do really well. We're a super fast growing company, and we've got over 100 employees. We're doing well because we focus on you, the worried American retiree.
Yeah, I really appreciate you breaking all that down, Paul. And we definitely want to say thank you for providing insight on what's happening in our country, especially with all this wasteful spending, and what we could probably expect will happen in the future due to this out of control deficit. Paul Stone, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
If you're still watching this video, this means you probably are aware of the urgent retirement warning out there. What does that mean? Well, we know Trump is set to usher in this new golden age, but growing trade tensions and China's ruthless attack on the dollar has rattled the markets. You've seen it go up and down during this entire year so far. That's why Warren Buffett just dumped $133 billion in stocks. And so too have Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, and even Jamie Dimon, CEO of the world's largest bank. That's why thousands of informed IRA and 401k savers are now shielding their savings with gold. And the experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you do the exact same. This is why we did the interview today, to get you to know how genuine they really are. So visit freegoldguide.com/DeVory or call 1-800-757-5158. You'll get a free gold guide on how to bulletproof your wealth with gold tax-free. Plus, see if you qualify for a free home safe and as much as $7,500 in free silver. Once again, that's freegoldguide.com/DeVory or call 1-800-757-5158.